Under consolidation and development, training and education I mentioned earlier on, that's going really, really well, and we're looking to build on that for next year as well. The under-18 programme took a lot of reorganisation, and it's bedding down now, it's finding its own level. There's still a lot to do with it. We've got a cracking team of people around the under-18 programme, but we need this year to consolidate the developments that have taken place, and whilst continuing to strengthen and enhance it, and at the same time keeping it simple. I mentioned standards just now. We're committed to delivering the highest possible standards across all areas of the sport. Doesn't matter whether this is in the quality of the service from the team in the office, the quality of affiliated events, or the overall BE experience. And we'll continue to ensure year-on-year improvement across all areas. The standards, we recognise it's very expensive for people to compete, whether you're a rider, whether you're an owner. And therefore we believe that it's very important that actually events, if they're going to have the BE kite mark alongside them, they do provide a guaranteed minimum level of standard. It's very important so that people know what they're going to go to when they write out their cheque for 150 quid or 75 quid. It's really, really important. And so we are unashamedly being quite strong on that area. Well, not quite strong, very strong on that one. If we look at safety and risk management, this is something that we are clearly totally committed to, and doing whatever we can to continue to minimise the risk in the sport. We've expanded the role of the National Safety Officer. Jonathan Clissold's role has expanded. It's much more proactive, and his first task is to develop a risk management strategy, setting out our aims in this very important area. The next generation of frangible pin, the second generation, is pretty much being tested at the moment and will be rolled out as soon as we got that through the programme. That will afford greater consistency across the use of these pins. And we're also, those of you who are interested, we're looking at reverse pinning. There's been a bit of discussion as to how long it takes to put fences back together. We're looking at ways as to how those can be put back together much more quickly, which will be good because it's good for events, it's good for the spectators, it's good for everybody. You'll also see here, in terms of safety and risk management, this is more from the business point of view, we need to have a proper business continuity plan. We have a risk register, we've identified the risk to the sport, and now it's a good question of how we deal with all those risks. So again, that is a fairly sizable piece of work that we've got on our desk for next year. I'll show you this slide. This, I'm not going to bore you with stats, but the good thing about this, if you work from bottom to top and look at the right-hand column, this is the only reason for really showing it to you, it continues, our safety record continues to improve, which is great. A lot of national federations are very interested in this. We spend a lot of time dealing with national federations, talking to national federations, and sharing ideas, sharing thoughts. But if you look at the top line, you know, July 11 to June 12, which is the annual summary of the year, I mean, that right-hand column is reducing, which can only be good news. So, you know, that's a big deal for all of us. In terms of simplification and clarification, as I said just now, I mean, often our sport is seen as complicated by those looking at it from the outside and confusing. We want to try and demystify the sport. You know, if we're going to attract and appeal to non-equestrians, they've got to actually understand what the sport's all about. And again, that will go across all our communications. We need to look at how we communicate, what we communicate, and the way we communicate. So it's much simpler. And that will go across all the outlets that we have and available to us. The rule book's going to have a new look. When you get your rule book next year, it ain't going to look the same. Debbie and the team have spent hours and hours and hours trying to, well, not trying to, succeeding in reshaping and revamping the rule book. It will look a little bit different next year, so if you want to find anything, you might need to look around a little bit more. But basically, it's avoiding duplication and tidying up some of the loose ends. The idea was to try and get it down to no more than about 35 pages, but that singularly failed. And then we go on. What we do, just before we go to the next one, we do work quite closely, well, not quite closely, very closely with the FEI, particularly Debbie and Chris, you know, in sharing our thoughts, sharing our initiatives, and working with the FEI. We're not proud to share what little knowledge we think we might have with them, and we like to think they do pay a little bit of attention to us. Bit of a challenge sometimes. But anyway, the latest FEI rules in the main are very good. We'll all have views on them, but in the main they're very good. So we're broadly in favour with a lot of that they've come out with. There are some challenges around it, and there will be further clarifications explained as we go along, as one or two of the new rules need to be fully explained, which as yet we don't really have full and satisfactory explanations on. We've got projects for next year, cross-departmental projects. We've engaged a project manager. John Bloomer joined us about a month ago. He's hit the ground running, vast amount to do. It's an identified need that we had in the business that we could do with somebody to coordinate a lot of the projects that we have. We're quite ambitious. We want to move forward. There's a lot to do. Standing still is not an option. One of the projects we're doing, as I mentioned, we're delivering the new website with improved functionality, design, layout and content. We are investigating apps. Everybody seems to want apps nowadays for whatever reason. I'm a Luddite, I'm a wrong generation to know about apps, but everybody wants apps, whether you're an organizer or you're a member. But the idea of these apps is to actually give information to members. So if you're driving to an event, you can press a button on your phone or whatever and you'll get information about all sorts of things. We're looking into that. That's on John's desk at the moment. We have a big project which is about to kick off. We're looking at the technological developments that are available to the sport. As we know, more and more communication is through handhelds, and people are using computers less and less. So we need to be right with the game, right on the button. The board's made a decision to make a significant investment over the next 3, 4, 5 years in technology. So we're going to be exploring every single opportunity and avenue that there is available to us. And as you can imagine, that's a fairly big chunk of work. We have an events project, which a number of us are involved in. This is exploring how we can improve certain areas. It looks at everything around events. You know, we're looking at refunds, withdrawals, entry fees, fixtures management, the relationship with organisers, all these areas. What can we do better? If we were starting from a blank sheet of paper, what might it look like? And so all of this is very much on the table at the moment. And then lastly, for next year, we intend to be moving offices, which is going through the process at the moment. Jumping and dressage are moving off to Meriden, and we believe they're going to be moving out of Stoneleigh in the middle of next year. We are quite optimistic that we found some offices fairly local at a very good rate, which will do us. So that's for 2013, the key projects that we've got going. Lastly, I just want to say a few thank yous. You know, I want to thank everybody, please. It's been a rough year, horrible year. It's been tough. You know, the weather's played havoc. It's messed everybody's lives around hugely. You know, whether you're an owner, a sponsor, an organizer, competitor, whatever, volunteer, supporter. I mean, it's been fantastic. What everybody's done, it's been a huge effort. And I would just like to thank everybody, you know, literally everybody, you know, including our sponsors, who've been flexible, understood the situation, but most importantly, the team in the office who've actually had a really rough time, you know, during the year trying to reschedule and reorganize. They've done a fantastic job, and it's very easy for people to bitch and moan about the guys in the office that they don't react fast enough. I see the effort, the energy that goes into it, and the amount of work the regional coordinators have had to do this year has been immense. So a huge thank you to everybody involved. It has been a huge collective effort. I'm not going to mention anybody in particular, but thank you to everybody. And that's all I've got for now, and I'm going to hand over to Yogi.